We may have been wrong about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, the family ties, Vanessa, the man behind the slaughter himself. In my previous video, we covered how Mike Schmidt couldn't be Michael Afton, and just what could have happened to Mike's brother Garret to have caused the riddling guilt Mike's character is described to hold. And now that I've had some time to think, I've got some new ideas that I think might help us to understand just what the hell is going on in this movie trailer. Because wow, it raises too many questions. And disclaimer, I know everyone's saying how the movies are a different canon to the games, and yeah, I understand that. However, just like the books are used to help make clear what's going on in the games, I'll do the same here for the movies. Alright, Michael Afton. After making my first video, I started to wonder what evidence we actually have of Michael Afton being Mike Schmidt. What if we were all wrong to begin with? Of course, this is what happens when you just get back into FNAF theorizing after years. In the Five Nights at Freddy's survival logbook, we see that the book previously belonged to Mike, a security guard, and in it we see Nightmare Fredbear, Casual Bongos, Exotic Butters? Yup, that means this handbook belongs to Michael Afton. And the various paths that conclusion can take you on is a whole other discussion. But yeah, it's made pretty clear that Mike Schmidt and Michael Afton are the same people in the games. Now going back to the movie, most people are concluding that Mike Schmidt isn't Michael Afton, including me, but there is still a chance of Mike Schmidt being Michael Afton. First of all, in the trailer we see Mike and William dressed up in work attire, but look at the color of their outfits. Yellow shirt, blue tie. Blue shirt, yellow tie. Coincidence? Probably not, as the people responsible for outfit designs usually put a lot of thought into the designs, but it also doesn't necessarily mean they're related. It can still be symbolic of good and evil or anything of the sort. Now you might be thinking, well, aren't Mike's parents casted in the movie as separate characters? Well, maybe. Of course we have a definite casting for Mike's mother, however it isn't fully confirmed that Mike's dad has been casted as anyone. And even if we do see Mike's father casted in the movie, there's still a possibility that he's not even Mike's actual father. And the disassociated way they're talking to each other on the phone may just be as a result of not interacting with each other for such a long time. Of course, there's still a very strong chance that they're not related, but let's not rule it out just yet. And since we're on the topic of Mike's parents, let me just say that they're probably dead. I mean, just why else would Abby be living with her brother? Her character description even says she's grown up without her parents. And that also could be the reason for Mike's guilt, since he could have been responsible for the death of his parents. Alright, moving away from that topic, this movie is most certainly going to take place over multiple nights, since we see in the trailer that Mike, Vanessa, and Abby's clothing changes throughout the trailer. So that begs the question, why does Mike keep returning if scary or possibly even dangerous things are happening? I mean, Vanessa literally tells him that the animatronics are trying to harm Abby, which I don't believe is even true, but after hearing that, why would you want to stay? I think Mike will have something keeping him there, a reason for him to go back every single night. My guess is that this reason will have something to do with Mike's brother Garret. Now we know very little about Garret, but we see him in the same dream sequence where Mike sees the 5 missing children. I don't think Garret showing up in the same dream sequence is a coincidence. There's some connection between Garret and the pizzeria. I think that Mike has some connection to this place that he doesn't know, or maybe even forgot about. And as the nights progress, his connection to what happened here slowly starts to be revealed. He may even begin to remember distant dreams from his past, things that until now were best left forgotten. Now going back to what I said about Vanessa, she tells Mike that the animatronics want to make Abby one of them, but that just conflicts with everything we know about the animatronics' behavior. We know that the animatronics show signs of hostility towards adults, but they always want to protect the children, which obviously is a result of their tragic circumstances. So it's either Vanessa doesn't know the true intentions of the animatronics, or she's lying, which I think is the case here. In Security Breach, Vanessa or Vanny is a villain, so why wouldn't she be here in the movie? I think Vanessa is working with William Afton, but maybe not willingly. I think she's being manipulated in some way or another. Remember that scene where Vanessa is in the hospital? I think she might have tried to fight or resist whatever was controlling or manipulating her, and unfortunately it didn't end well for Vanessa. It's just a theory, but I do think Vanessa will be a twist villain in some way. Going back to Abby, people have pointed out that Abby is an anagram for baby, and I knew this when I made my first video, but I thought it was just a coincidence. But now I've had more time to think, and these studios are going to put a lot of time into naming their characters. I think that the studio purposely did this as a way of showing that Abby is a stand-in for Elizabeth Afton. Now if that's the case here, then Abby might die too. However, I'd say that's unlikely. I really think the series is going to do a lot of different things. And that brings me to the question, just how different is this movie going to be compared to the games? Is the FNAF 2 location going to be a thing? Now the events of FNAF 2 tell us a lot about the bite of 87 and many other things like the death of Charlie. Now if the FNAF 2 events are actually in the movie canon, then Fritz Smith can't be Michael Afton as commonly believed, as FNAF 2 takes place before the events of FNAF 1. I'd also like to mention that while not confirmed, there have been people who said that there were voice actors casted for Balloon Boy and the puppet, and we see a drawing of Balloon Boy in the shot from the trailer. Now this is leading me to believe that at least some FNAF 2 characters will be involved in the film, maybe not as much in this movie but in future ones too. So as far as other locations go, I think there's a good chance we're gonna see multiple locations here, and one of those, bear with me here, I think will be Fredbear's Family Diner. I think there's a likely chance we're gonna see Fredbear's in this movie. Of course it'll be run down and closed, but I think it might play an important role. Remember that scene with the Freddy mask? Well, I think this scene might occur in Fredbear's. If you look at the background, it kind of looks a little different than what we've seen before in the trailer. It looks a little bit more run down and a little messier, but it could just be another room we haven't yet seen in the pizzeria. So the actual Freddy mask death contraption thing has had me and my friends debating on what it could be ever since the first teaser dropped, and we're still stumped. My friends have been saying it's a spring lock suit, but what's with the saws? It really seems like this device was intended to kill. The way the mask splits in two also doesn't resemble what we've seen. The spring lock suit masks are meant to be put on overhead and not directly on the face like we see here. We've also got to be open to the possibility that this is all a dream sequence, which could be a likely scenario. Now I also want to discuss this Easter egg in this shot right here. If you look at the whiteboard in the background, you can see writing that reads "It's me." Now this may actually be pretty significant. We can see in a prior shot that the writing isn't there, but on another night it just appears. The meaning of "It's me" is still somewhat debated today, however there's a chance we might get more of an explanation from this film, or it could just be an Easter egg with no real significance, but I still hope for the former. So what I really hope will come from this movie is a cleaner presentation of the lore. I still expect them to do things differently, which is a good thing. I don't want it to be all the same because that'll just be boring for returning fans. However, I do hope it won't stray too much from the known lore so that we can use it to better understand what's happening in the games. And that's really what I'm hoping for in most of the FNAF stuff coming in the future. Ruin DLC, Help Wanted 2, I hope at least one of these games will help to finalize our understanding of the lore presented to us in the early FNAF series, and set up for the ending of the second stage of FNAF. With the information we have now, nobody can really guess the FNAF movie plot, which is a good thing of course. I don't want it to be spoiled for me before it's even out. With that being said, it's a fantastic year for FNAF, and just so happens to be the year that FNAF 3 takes place, so maybe we'll get a FNAF themed horror attraction. But anyways, that's all from us today. If you want to see more videos like this, please leave a like and consider subscribing. And if you want to hear longer discussions on topics like these with fun games mixed into them, then go check out our podcast. We haven't posted our first video yet, but you should expect one pretty soon. So thanks everyone for watching and have a good one.